with you guys tonight. So hopefully I've got something to say that will add value to you and that you'll be able to take something away for the week. So Phil's going to control my slides and MJ's on the media. So are we good to go? Fantastic. Ready when you are? Are you already filming? Awesome. Hello to our online viewers. Tonight we are going to be talking about your personal brand. So the things that you're known for. Some of you might have seen that on the whiteboard or the blackboard at the back of the room when we came in. So tonight I'm just going to share a story to start with. So if you can just put up the first slide, that would be good. Yep. Thank you, Phil. So it should say what's in a name. Fantastic. So I've called tonight what's in a name, because at the end of the day the brand that we have as people is our name. That's the thing that people think about when they think about a person. They also associate other things with it, but the main thing that you're known for is your name. So I think about me, my name is Beck Mitchell, and wherever I go, whatever I do, people always associate my name with me. So if they're thinking about me, they've got my name in their mind. So that's the basis of what we're going to be talking about tonight. Can we go to the next slide, please? My story starts when I was in high school, when I was 14, and I would have been known as one of the good girls, if everyone understands what that means. I sat up the front of the class. I really wanted to be in school because I missed out on my education when I was younger, and doing good in school was something that I was really excited about. That was something that I really wanted to do. It was a personal aim of mine. So I would always do what the teacher said and, you know, do my homework. And I wasn't an A grade student, but I was just one of the good girls. And I remember one day I kind of figured out that because I was sort of at the bottom of the social chain when it came to school, I wasn't really considered popular, and I figured out that behaving a certain way got you more popular. So I kind of went through this rebellious stage where I decided to not behave. So whenever it came to class, I would always play up for the teacher, or I'd like do the naughty stuff and get sent to the principal's office. And I just went through this rebellious stage where I was just like, didn't want to talk to anybody. And I figured that attention would get me more popular, and I kept doing it because it was working. I don't know if any of you have ever tried that before, but one day, yeah, a few hands might have gone up at that point. One day I was in school and I had this teacher that I'd known since the start of year 7, so this is the end of year 8 by now, and they said, can I speak to you after class? And I was like, no, why would I want to do that? Like, I was just completely rebellious. I was like reluctant to do anything. And she's like, no, I really want to talk to you. I'm like, oh, that's not going to be very popular. I don't want to do it. Anyway, ended up reluctantly agreeing to stay behind in class, and I'm like sitting on my chair being all rebellious, like not paying attention, pretending. And she started asking me a whole bunch of questions. Like, why are you behaving the way that you are at the moment? You know, why are you being disrespectful in class? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I kind of didn't really pay attention until the one sentence that she said kind of changed the way that I viewed myself. And she said to me, this is not who you are, Rebecca. She was Rebecca, so that was kind of scary. But she was basically saying the person that I'm seeing at the moment is not the person that I know. And for me, that was probably the first time I actually recognised that people associated good and bad with who I was as a person. It was the first time someone had reflected back to me that what I was doing as a behaviour didn't match my personality. And it was that moment that when I recognised that, I was probably too young to understand it really, but it's in the back of my mind. It's like imprinted as that real first moment where I recognised that I had a brand as a person. And when I was preparing for tonight, that was the first thing that came to my mind, was that very moment. And I don't know if you guys in the room have ever had an experience like that, where someone's reflected back to you, you know, this is not the Jason that I know, you know, this is not the Taylor that I know, this is not the person that I know. You know, I'm seeing a person it might be a mask, or it might be a behaviour or an attitude, but it's opposite to what I know as a person. And that's our brand, that's what we're known for. And for me, that was a really big moment. And moving on from that, I didn't really do anything about it, but it changed the way that I saw myself. And I'm wondering if for you there's been an experience that changed you the way that changed me. Can we go to the next slide, please? Does everyone recognise this brand? Nike. What is it? Nike. Now, I don't know if it's pronounced Nike or Nike, but I'm a Nike girl, so I'm just going to stick with that. Everyone's okay. Everyone's going to understand.
I'm sorry.
You're not okay with that. I'm sorry. Definitely Nike. Now, we are looking at one of like the most well-known brands around the world when it comes to anything sport. And you don't even need to read the word Nike to know that that's the Nike tick, right? You just automatically know that that's their brand. Now, when you see that, what do you start to think about? Just start yelling out to me what you think. Shoes. Stationery, clothing, sport.
Stationery? There's Nike stationery?
That was the first
Stationery.
I got stationery out of station rights, that's awesome. Anyway,
New line.
the point is that when you see this brand, all of a sudden you start to align a whole lot of other things with it. And that's the same for us. When people hear the words Jordan Keane, they start to associate things with that name. You know, it's the same for everyone in this room. It's the same for me. When people hear the words Beck Mitchell, all of a sudden they might associate youth worker or leader or a whole lot of things to my name because that's what they know me for. What do people know you for? When you, don't yell it out, just have a think about that for a moment. When you think about your name and what other people would associate or align to when they think of you, what would it be? You know, do they see you as a leader? Do they see you as a person of integrity? Do they see you as a sporty type? Do they see you as a particular personality? What are the things that people think about when they think about you? Because at the end of the day, we can have a desire to have a particular brand and be seen in a certain way, but it comes from inside. It comes from in our heart and in our identity that gets reflected on the outside. At the end of the day, our internal identity is reflected in that expression of your image. Whatever brand people associate you with could be an indication of what your identity is. And Nike is really, really interesting as a brand, and I picked it because they have a really interesting thing that they actually did with their brand. So 20 years ago, I don't know if you know this, but 20 years ago, Nike looked like this. That's what Nike looked like 20 years ago. They had a name and they had a tick. Now, for bridge builders, we have the name in our logo, which is pretty cool, but these guys, 20 years ago, had a Nike and a tick. And they made a decision, they wanted to choose to have a different brand. And what they did over time, which is one of the key points, is they had 4 stages in their transition. Originally it was this here. And then what they did is they started doing Nike with the tick alongside it. And then sometimes they would do the tick and they would have the Nike on the other side. Oh, I can't even spell. Just ignore my spelling, right? And eventually they got to the point where they could separate and interchange the two. They could just have the word Nike on it without the tick, or they could have the tick on it without the Nike. And people just began to recognise worldwide what this brand meant. Eventually, they got to the point where they could just put a giant swoosh on something, and all of a sudden people knew that it was Nike.
Or go under the word like that.
Or under the word. So we've got a Nike t-shirt in the room, which is pretty cool. Now you'll see a whole bunch of Nike symbols around the room or Nike symbols around the room on paper, because they can almost do whatever they want with their brand now, or just have a plain old tick like what's on the screen, and all of a sudden they could choose this amazing brand that they had. And choosing your brand for you is really important. And for me, I can actually remember, and I'll share the story, a time when I actually had to physically make a decision that I was going to change my brand. And that was in 2008, and I was on a camp with a whole bunch of my friends. It wasn't a bridge builders camp. And again, still in my little rebellious stage at this point. And it was nighttime, it's July, we're all excited, high off sugar because it's camp and adrenaline, and we decided that we just didn't want to go to bed and we wanted to just go and do something fun. So me and 2 of my girlfriends, we just got up and just started running around the campsite doing really silly things. We would go and play on the play equipment, and we would run around the oval, and we would just do whatever we wanted, and it was just laughter and carry on, and we were having so much fun. And it's freezing because it's July, mind you, remember, like freezing cold. And we saw a pool, and we got excited, and I just happened to listen to whatever my friends were telling me at this point. They're like, let's skinny dip! I'm like, yeah! Why am I doing this? Anyway, we proceeded to take all our clothes off and jump in the freezing cold pool in the middle of winter on this camp, right? Yeah, I'm a leader on this camp. This is working out really well for me. Anyway, we're like splashing around and just doing really stupid stuff. And then we decided we're going to do a nudie run. So we jump up out of the pool, like freezing because it's so cold. All I remember is cold. And we start running laps around the oval like nud, like starkers. You might be horrified to hear this story right now because I kind of am, like, remembering it. Anyway, we decided to, like, even rake more havoc. I said that wrong. Anyway, so we decided to put all our clothes back on, and then we, like, went and got Weet-Bix and put it in people's hair while they were sleeping, and put things at the end of their bed so they would wake up with, like, rocks in their doonas, and we just did all this really silly stuff. Anyway, it wasn't until a couple of days later that I remembered the camp director that we woke up in the middle of the night was a business partner of Bridge Builders, and I was like, this could get really awkward. Anyway, I got a call from my boss, and he was like, so we need to talk. And I was like, oh, it's one of those talks. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So we meet at a cafe, and he starts talking to me and asking me lots of questions. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And why are you behaving the way that you're behaving? And I'm thinking, I've heard these questions before. And then he says to me the one line that I will never forget. I was an intern on our board at this point, so this is not working out well for me. And he basically said, that's not who a Bridge Builders board member is. And I was like, I heard that line before as well. And all of a sudden, I found myself in this situation where I had to choose. I had to choose between the decisions that I was making at the time and the brand that I was creating for myself that was average and full of all of these rebellious behaviours, or I was going to be given this opportunity to create a brand that was going to be associated with good things. You know, when people think of nudie runs and all this stuff in the middle of the night, that's probably not all that great. But I was being given this opportunity where I could start to make better choices. And I remember that conversation as clear as day, like it was yesterday, because it meant so much to me, because I think that was the very first time where I made a decision that I wanted to better my brand as a person. I didn't want people associating those things with my name. I wanted to be known differently to what I was currently behaving as. And for all of us in the room tonight, we're given the same opportunity. And it might not be yesterday, and it might not be today, and it might not be tomorrow, but there's definitely a point in your life where you get to choose your brand, where you actually get to make a choice and be like, am I gonna align with all of these things, all the things that my friends are doing just because it sounds like fun, or am I gonna start to develop myself and change my brand? And the best part about it for me is that it's possible. You can change your brand. And I love the Nike journey because in order to do this, in order to make this transition, it would have cost them. Can we go to the next slide? It would have cost them a lot to do this. It would have cost them a lot of money and a lot of time. And this journey took them 10 years to try and get to. And for me, I think about my life, and mine reflects the Nike brand. From that point, 10 years ago, or even more now, that when I was in high school and someone was reflecting back to me saying, this is not your brand, to the moment that I had to start to make a conscious choice to change it, to the person I am today is completely different. And it's the same for all of us. But it's really important that we understand that it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you to go from this person of like, I don't know what my brand is, and then I figure it out, and then I don't think I like it and I want to change it, and then you start to make better decisions, and over time it has cost me. When I sat at that table in the cafe saying, oh my gosh, this is really embarrassing, it cost me to make a better decision. It was totally worth it, but it cost me something. And it's the same for you. It might cost you a friendship. You know, you might have to not be friends with a certain person to change your brand. You might not have to hang out in a certain environment to change your brand. Can we go to the next slide? And change is possible. Change is absolutely possible. So if you don't like what you're seeing, you can change it over a period of time. One of the things that happened to me the other day was I got a Facebook invite off someone that I knew in Year 12. And they're doing our 10-year out of high school reunion. I was like, oh my gosh, it's the first reunion of many. And it freaked me out because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been out of high school for 10 years. Like a decade. And I felt old. And then I realised I'm still young and I'm okay. But anyway, my point was that it's been 10 years. And I think about the person that all of the people in high school would have known, Beck Mitchell. And then I think about the person I am today, Beck Mitchell, and I think, I am not even close. Internally as my identity, and externally what you look at and who I am as a person is it's just leagues apart. The same might be for you. You might be able to think back a couple of years and go, I'm nothing like I was, or nothing like I used to be. And that's a good thing. If you've decided to develop your brand to become a world, well, Nike's gone now, but a world recognized brand that's elite and not average and just putting up with all the average things, then that's a good thing. And that was a great thing for me to realize. And if I go to that reunion, the one thing I'm looking forward to is not standing up and showing that I'm amazing and I've done a lot of things with my life, but I would love to be able to talk to those people that I saw 10 years ago and say, you know what I was like 10 years ago, and now you know me now, and look how much has changed. And that's not about me, that's to show you that it's possible. That transformation has absolutely cost me over time, but it's possible, and you can do it too. I would want to go and inspire people. So some of my questions tonight are, what is it that you need to do to change your brand? Who do you need to stop hanging out with? What do you need to start doing? What do you need to continue to do? What are the things in your world that you need to change in order to go from a ugly little stick figure into an amazing brand? What kind of colour is your brand? What kind of wording is your brand? Pink, okay, interesting, good. At the end of the day, you have the power to choose. I have the power to choose. I think about something as simple as my Facebook, right? I got nominated for an award recently, and they wanted to know my Facebook profile name, my Twitter name. They wanted to know everything about me, and they stalked me. They went online and looked me up and looked through all my photos and all my comments. And there's one thing that it comes to Facebook that I do not do because of my personal brand. You won't find any negative comments, you won't find anything emotional, and it's not because I'm a legend or, I know how to do Facebook. It's not that at all. It's just that I want a certain brand for Beck Mitchell, and you might want a certain brand for you. So tonight, in your packs, I'd love for you to maybe share with your pack leader what you want to be for your brand. What kind of brand do you want to have? Do you want to have a Nike brand where you can change it to be what you want? Or are you just happy to and be prepared to settle for where you're currently at? And my last thought I want to leave you with is this. Sometimes we can think about it up here in our minds and we can think, yeah, I agree with everything that Beck's saying. But sometimes it doesn't translate here. For me, back in high school, that affected my heart when I was sitting in that chair listening to my teacher. When I was sitting at the cafe having the discussion with my boss, that affected me here, not here. And one of the best things that we can do to help move our brand from where it is to where we want it to be is to get other people involved in the journey. That's been one of the most amazing things for me, to get mentors and friends and people around me that can help be architects of my heart. They can help change and mold me and help create where I'm going as a brand. Because for Nike, they would have had to do the same thing. They would have had a room full of people, marketing specialists and graphic designers, and God knows what they would have had to have in that room to create that amazing brand. And it's the same for us. If we want a brand to be a certain way for us, if we want to be known for certain things, maybe we just need to get around some people that are like that. If you want to be a chef, maybe you just need to go hang out with a whole lot of chefs. If you want to be known as a person that has courage, maybe you need to hang out with a whole lot of people that have courage. So one of the best things you can do for your brand is to get a whole lot of branding specialists involved. A whole lot of people that can help transform your heart. Because for me, that was what I needed to do. So I just want to leave you with that thought. And in your packs tonight, I'd love for you to talk to your leaders about what you want your brand to look like. When people think about you, what do you want them to think about? And I'm not talking about that lack of confidence that people have around, I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to listen to, or I don't want to believe what other people think about me. Like, I don't want to spend my whole life being worried about what other people think. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a confidence thing. What I'm talking about is when people hear your name, what sort of things do they think of? So I'd just love to leave you with that thought. Thanks for letting me share, and I hope you guys have a great time in your packs.